finance and globalization. And today, both Sergey and I are going to present. So I'll do a quick introduction. We're going to split the session with finance first and globalization second. Of course, they're very critical together for your business and offering a full, complete solution. So as a matter of introduction, I lead the product management team for the core finance areas. And today I'm going to talk about, where finance is going, then get very tactical on what we're actually investing in the current and future waves, and then finish up with a little bit of vision before I hand it over to Sergey. And then Sergey, do you want to introduce yourself now or when you go ahead and present?
Sergey Shvedov, and hello everyone, nice to meet you. I lead engineering team for globalization for Dynamics 365 finance and operations, and so I will talk about globalization strategy and roadmap and show a couple of quick demos after April.
Wonderful. And we will be monitoring some questions in the chat as well as taking some Q&A. So let's go ahead and get started. For those of you that I haven't had a chance to chat with, I want to spend a little bit of time kind of framing up finance and what we're investing in finance and why. And when we think about our investments in finance, we're taking a very focused approach to it. We're really looking at how we can transform and automate the processes that you have today, and also looking at how to take advantage of things like predictive analytics, so that you're always seeing the insights that you need so that you can take action. And of course, a big part of that is, we get the beauty of the Microsoft stack, and we get to bring it together within Dynamics to create a solution for customers that can take advantage of it so that they don't have to worry about navigating all the great tech that Microsoft has. And so how that frames up into where we see finance going, and it's actually at there now, and where we continue to see it going today, and how that will impact what we're investing is what you see here on the screen. And I'm going to talk about a few of them because ultimately that final circle on the right is our whole goal is to make sure that our finance users are spending less time doing manual repetitive tasks and doing more value-added activities. They're incredibly talented people. They get tech, they get finance. How do we make sure that they are the most successful and that you as an organization are getting the most out of them? And so how that really aligns to finance is the continuous intelligent automation. So in the last year and a half plus, we've spent a lot of time adding automation to the product. We call it, native finance process automation, where you can automate things such as once the invoices are in the system, how they automatically do the matching. Things around the cash flow, we've added a lot of automation as well. And we're also continuing to take it to the next level. And we're utilizing things like machine learning to use predictions to also drive that. And we did that with our credit and collections. So that when you get a customer that is predicted to pay late, how that impacts how the credit and collections rules automation works. And so this will continue to very much be a focus for us. Likewise, anything external, we've got the great Power Automate that you can utilize for a robotic process automation to automate any other processes in your organization as well. The next thing is really around data. Every organization's got a lot of different systems. They're trying to make sense out of all the data that's available to them. And we've got wonderful tools to do that. We've got things like Power BI, which is the leading BI solution in the world. We've got lots of reporting, but it's a lot harder to bring all this data together and put it in a schema that's understandable, especially to finance users. So this will continue to be something we are always looking at, utilizing the data lake capabilities to make sure we're investing in things going forward that will really meet the customer's needs. The third is around changing business models. Really, we've seen in the last how many years, almost everybody's got multiple subscriptions. Everyone's trying to get, especially from a CFO perspective, what's that next? How do I make sure that revenue is recurring monthly? How do I make sure my customers aren't churning? And then once they do, and I get into that business model, the complexities of recognizing the revenue with it, of something that's been a little bit mind boggling in the past. And so really a great subscription billing solution around this that takes into account some of the complexities is a very important thing that we see a lot of industries moving to. I'm going to talk about this one in further detail in the next slides. And then the last, really a core principle of everything that we do is to try to do everything now that's configurable and personalized versus code. So that way, when you are thinking about going into a new country, adding a new IFRS rule, whatever it is that your organization needs, how can we make sure we're creating experiences that allow you to configure it so that you have no code, low code solutions, which drastically reduces your risk and quickly accelerates your time to market for whatever that need is. So between that and the AI that we made generally available earlier this year, we really see this is where finance is going, and it really aligns to our current investments that are now made public on this wave. So I'm going to spend just a couple minutes going into some of them. If you do want details on this, these are all public out on our release plans. So we are making sure that we update these release plans with there's big investments, as well as we are continuing to many things based on your feedback. So keep an eye on those release plans, because if you're saying, hey, the usability on this area is really tough, we have been trying to knock off some of the top ideas, knock the customer feedback off that you've reported. So please watch those release plans. So subscription billing, this one's probably the most relevant one that I was talking around the changing business models. This is actually now generally available this month. You can go live on it on our PEEP bill. And what subscription billing is we've always had a way to do recurring billing. We've had revenue recognition in the past, but like I said, as every industry moves to more of a monthly recurring revenue and subscription type service, there's a lot of complexities. You get different price management and that you need. You have different frequencies, different ways to measure billing or how to bill. So we've added a subscription billing, and we actually got this through an IP acquisition. So it's actually a solution that's been in the market being used by customers for quite some time. And the reason I call that out is because a lot of times when customers see something new, they're always like, oh, it's really early. Maybe the product isn't mature. And I'm basically here to tell you that is not the case. It is a very mature full solution that has a continued investment in it going forward, because we do anticipate every industry moving there. In fact, we're starting to see some manufacturing companies say, hey, we're going to pilot this because we want to start doing product as a service. So when we think about everything as a service going forward, we need to make sure that we're very quickly, proactively and quickly reactively reacting to that feedback. So there will be a very long-term investment here that we'll continue to do. So please check it out. There's some, the documentation is out there. You can take the build today and start piloting it. So specifically for the kind of coming waves, what we're focusing on is a project ops integration. We want to make sure that for those of you that are using the project ops solution, that we have a very good integration with their new capabilities. So this is something we are actively working on. We're also looking at some split billing capabilities. So that, you know, a fairly common, you know, one that everybody typically can understand is in healthcare, you know, you might send part of your bill to insurance, part of your bill to the consumer, you know, scenarios like that. We want to make sure that, again, are automated, they're not manual. So that is something that we're absolutely looking at right now. And then we have lots of other ideas. We've gotten tons of feedback as we've gone through it. So we have some ideas up there, such as self-service contract, potentially e-commerce and credit card enhancements, maybe making it a service. Those are a little further out. We want to make sure for now, those of you that are taking a solution and moving forward with it, that we're reacting to your feedback. So we make sure that it's a great end-to-end experience as you take on that business model. The second area I want to talk about today is automation and scalability around period end. So, you know, if there's one thing I think in finance we can do, we can always be improving that. There's no stress automating that period end close so that finance can quickly move on with the reporting. and not have that stress in their life. And this is something that we are, just starting and continuing to invest in. So let's talk about specifically what. And I will go into a bit more detail on some of these. The first one is what we've already done. So again, if you haven't looked at those release plans, please go out and check. There's been a couple of categories out there called year-end close enhancements. Those have already been completed and delivered. Some workaround inquiries and workaround settlements. Please check those out because they have been high customer feedback areas and you very well may benefit from them. But what's coming? The next thing we're focusing on is automated ledger settlements. So when you think about going into that, month end and you want to do all your settlements on the general ledger side, we really want to add a rules-based automation to really help reduce manual work and make the usability much better. We believe the more we can automate in this process, the better your life will be. Now, when we think about automation, though, there's always fields or attributes that you want to be utilizing for that automation. And so with all of our customer research and feedback, really what we want to do is add a concept called financial tags. These will be user-defined tags, both in the subledger and in the general ledger, that can be used for analytics, as well as for things like automated ledger settlements, whether that is a PO number, a vendor, a customer, things that are not financial dimensions today, but are really critical for you. And so I'm going to go into another slide on what that is. And then the last is a year-end close microservice. So what is this? What does this mean to finance? Really what it is it's taking all of that heavy processing that's happening during year-end close, putting it on a modern architecture, which is a microservice, which will give you speed at the most critical time of your processes, as well as enhanced scalability and decreased memory consumption. So what we're seeing is some great results on this. We're looking for private preview customers right now to help test this on sandbox environments. So if you have high volume, high complexity, please let us know. We would love to engage with you and get some great feedback. So I'm going to click in two more areas. I want to go one level deeper on financial tags and one level deeper on automated settlements. So what are the financial tags? So again, they're user-defined fields in the ledger and subledger. But how are they different than dimensions? Especially if you're implementing, you're thinking about adopting these, what does this mean for you? So they're similar to dimensions, but different. So what they are is they are values that are rarely reused. Okay, so that again, think of a serial number. That might be a key area for you to do matching. However, we would never want that as a dimension because it's not going to be something that's reused frequently. So that's kind of the concept is it's different in that case because it's not going to be reused. At this point in time, they're not going to default. They will be something that you manually either select or enter onto the particular transaction. We may look at defaulting in the future, but for this first round, we will not be adding the defaulting. They're not validated. So whether you manually enter them or select from a list, there's not going to be any validation. Again, we want it to be quick, reusable. So those are things that will help speed it up and really put the responsibility in the owners. They will not be included in dimension sets. So a dimension set, for those of you, I'm sure you do a lot of analysis by them, but we create balances and store them. So we're not going to be doing that for each of these, but they will be able to be used for filtering, Power BI reports, and other areas for analytics. They also will not be used when we're creating accounting entries for things like year-end close. So this is something that we are starting to work on. We've got requirements written, starting on design. So again, something that if you're interested in, we'll be looking for early adopters as well as feedback. All right, one click further down into the ledger settlements. Again, really what we want to do is we've been listening to the feedback and we want to improve the experience. And again, make that month-end close a much better experience for you and hopefully much quicker. So here on the screen, you can see some of the things that we're going to do to improve that process today. We're going to be doing matching across debit and credit transactions. We're going to make sure we reduce the number of clicks through automation and usability. We really want to make sure that there are user-defined match criteria, as well as kind of more of a continuous touchless reconciliation experience. So I just have a couple of early screens here on what we're thinking about, where we have a potential new process automation to create these settlements. And then you can go ahead and set up, your dimensions and your rules and the different tasks, and then really have a consolidated view to see that matching happen. So this is something that, again, we are starting the work on here soon, and we would be looking for early adopters. Okay, the next section and the last section before I do a quick summary of vision and hand it off to Sergey is in the theme of that continuous intelligent automation. And what we've done so far is added some capabilities around AP automation. And I'm actually going to jump ahead one slide here. So today, what we have, if you can see the screen, we have some existing capabilities where when the invoice is in, whether you can, manually input it, import it, create the pending in vendor invoice, and then we do the prepayments, the matching, and so on. So we've kind of got that once it's in, we've got that automation happening, and we are continuing to enhance that and listen to your feedback on it. But what we don't have yet, we have the e-invoicing side, but we don't have the OCR piece. And that's specifically what we're discussing here today. So I'm going to jump backwards. I should have reversed these slides. So what we want to really do is create a vision where we provide, and we're utilizing AI Builder and Form Recognizer. So again, Microsoft tech. And that is something we want to bring together in a solution for you where we provide a model out of the box so that as we go through, we are reading those invoices, reacting to the exceptions, and continuously learning as we find exceptions. And so that is something that we're actively working on. You can see in the release plans, we're targeting a public preview this year. So I'm just going to be kind of clicking through, as you can see, some of the early designs and screens that we have. There's a bit of automation on there, so you have a good idea of what we're thinking here. But again, this will be a service that once your invoices come into a source destination, it reads that data. It's bringing that data in, and again, reacting to it. You'll see here on this screen, there's an example when there's an exception. How do we react to that exception? How is this different than a service today? And that is, again, that utilizing the Microsoft tech of AI Builder. Again, the users go in, they manually have to react to this. And if this invoice continues to come in for the next 6 months, a user is constantly having to manually react to it. And now all of a sudden we have the AP team spending more time doing manual tasks again. By making the corrections in the machine learning model to relearn, these things will get to continuously get smarter, react to it, have less exceptions, reduce manual work. So this is the vision that we have. Again, public preview this year, then we'll GA follow. We're focused on the non-PO right now and be adding, the PO, we'll be adding the non-PO and journal. So we're going to be a very long-term roadmap here that we're going to just continue to make sure we make a great usable experience and really simplify that AP. So those are some of the exciting things that are coming that are out in the release plans that you have plenty of opportunity to engage with the product team with if you are interested. So to close before I hand it over to Sergey is really, we have this vision, and this vision is, again, utilizing everything that we can today to, we have core business processes. How can we transform them so you're getting insights to take action? Things are intelligent and continuously getting more intelligent and definitely automated. And it all comes around data. How do we take this data, make this data that is something that is usable for you? So again, we're continuing to really invest in everything as a service and all the feedback that we're getting around that. So you'll just continue to see that. So as your business transforms, if it hasn't already, we are there for you. We have a great set of capabilities for that. We're really again, continuing around things around reporting and automation and month end. We're just getting started. When we have data in the data lake, we're looking where we can get extreme scale. We can automate things like reconciliation and close, have parallel accounting automation that's a little bit faster than it is today. So these are the things that we really want to do by utilizing the data in the data lake to make it work for you. And then planning. We are still really focused on getting a good planning solution out there. We know it's so critical to finance organizations and the CFO. It's still something super high priority for us. We hope to have more news to share in the future, but I just want to encourage you and reconfirm that we've heard you. We know it's important. We have a great set of capabilities today. We want to make them even better. So we are definitely looking at our plan for planning. So that's kind of where we see finance going. That's what we're investing in and where we want to go. And for now, I will hand it over to Sergey to cover the more complex parts of globalization. And I'll try to look at some questions in the chat before Q&A as well.
Thank you very much, April. Let me share the screen.
You want to request control, or would you like me to click?
I'm fine. I think it's
okay.
It's loading. Again, thank you, April, and I need to move.
You can see the deck.
Yeah, it's from the beginning, right? Let me move to the.
Yes. Yep.
Let me do the following. Let me present from here. I hope you can see it now.
We don't see it in presentation mode though. Now we see electronic invoicing service slide.
Yeah. Okay.
There we go. Perfect.
Okay. Sorry for this. And again, thank you, April. And let's go deeper into the globalization. So we start with quickly with globalization strategy. There are three key components of our globalization strategy. We provide out-of-the-box localization for 44 countries, regions, and translation for 52 languages. We also monitor the legislation changes and ship regulatory updates when needed for the supported countries. Our out-of-the-box localization is extended by partner solutions. Many of those solutions are published at AppSource and some not. And also we deliver no-code, low-code globalization tools and services that make localization easy for Microsoft as well as partners and customers to create, extend, automate, and maintain. The combination of these three components of our strategy allows our customers to use Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations to run their business operations in more than 180 countries. So if you look at the globalization map, right, localization and especially tax compliance requirements, obviously multiple, they're complex and frequently changed. And our customers actually are looking for more breadth and depth of out-of-the-box functionality from Microsoft, as well, obviously, for more scalable globalization solution. From a breadth perspective, we delivered quite a lot in the last 18 months. We shipped localization for 7 new countries, and also the team which is responsible for translation, we shipped 10 new languages. Right now, as I mentioned, we have 44 countries, regions, and translation, localization for 44 countries, region, and translation for 52 languages as well. And we plan to extend to more countries in future, and we are working on covering multiple regions. So we are working on these details of the plan, and as soon as we have them available, we will publish them. From a depth perspective, in the last 12 months, we made a significant enhancement in all three key tax compliance areas, such as tax determination and calculation, electronic invoicing, and tax audit and reporting. In the tax determination and calculation area, we released a tax calculation service last October. It significantly enhances the core tax determination and calculation capabilities and support many complex tax scenarios out of the box. Another critical area is electronic invoicing. You probably know that to fight the tax evasion, more and more countries introduce mandatory business-to-business electronic invoicing with invoice clearance at tax authorities agencies. So we extended our electronic invoicing capabilities with electronic invoicing service also shipped last year. And we will be enhancing capabilities of both tax calculation service and electronic invoicing service in the next wave. And another area is tax audit and reporting. We enable multiple country tax reporting from one legal entity for companies with multiple tax registration to support these quite popular, especially in Europe, models like transfer pricing or limited risk distributor or LRD models. So we also made several enhancements in our low-code, no-code configurable business documents and electronic reporting functionality, which we already available from our globalization portfolio for quite a while. And what we plan to do in wave one as well, right? We plan to do further enhancement of our globalization tool and services, and we will be shipping Globalization Studio. Globalization Studio is really an evolution of our low-code globalization tools and services into globalization as a service. It has three components. If you look at the middle of the slide, it includes all enhanced no-code, low-code globalization tools and services, what we have, like tax calculation, electronic invoicing, and other what I mentioned earlier, and obviously all out-of-the-box localization content, what we have. On the left side, all globalization tools, if you look at the left side, all the globalization tools and services right now tightly integrated with Dynamics 365 finance operations. Globalization Studio will open our rich content and also functionality to any first and third party application. We will start with APIs for tax calculation and electronic invoicing services. These APIs will be coming in 2022 wave one, but later we will extend it even further. On the right side, you see we will be providing pre-built connectors as well as enhanced configuration functionality to our partners to extend our content and functionality with partner content and functionality as well, basically to provide better end-to-end experience for our customers. So let's move next. In the remaining part of our presentation, I will talk more about these components in the middle part of this slide, going deeper and into the functionality and also into the roadmap. Let's start with the tax determination and calculation area. I will show you a quick pre-recorded demo for tax calculation service. It was shipped last year, and it's significantly enhance our core tax determination and calculation capabilities of FNO. The demo recorded by Eric Wang, who owns our tax functionality. So let's have a 2.5-minute demo. Sorry, can you hear voice?
We cannot. I cannot hear it. No.
Yeah. Sorry. Let me just start. Okay, it should work now. Let me know if you cannot hear.
In the text feature, we introduce a new determination mechanism we call the metrics to enhance the determination capability. In FO, as you know, the sales test group and item sales test group are defaulted from mass data like customer, vendor, and item. But now in text calculation service, they can use the metrics to determine it. So in these metrics, we can see ship to, ship from address. They are the input of these metrics. And this text group is the output of these metrics. And the user can add almost all the available fields on the transaction, like customer account, invoice address, delivery time, item code, all these fields into these metrics as the input. And we support two kinds of advanced metrics. One is parallel metrics and the other is cascade metrics. For parallel metrics, we can use the sales order to determine two outputs at the same time. One, for example, this text group applicable metrics to determine text group, and this item text group applicability metrics to determine item text group. And for the cascade matrix, it can use the output of one matrix. For example, item text group is the output of this matrix as the input of another matrix, item text group. The input of this matrix is item text group and output are text codes. So with these two mechanisms, we can build a very powerful text determination rules here. And we also provide some optional metrics like list code matrix, customer and vendor VAT ID metrics. User can use these metrics to determine some value in more automated way. And besides text determination, we also enhance the text calculation capabilities in text calculation service. So for example, in some business used goods, user want to calculate VAT by sales margin, not by sales amount. This is not supported in the current FO text engine, but this is very easy in text calculation service. User just need to write a formula. My text base amount is my sales amount minus my cost amount. That's all. Then they can calculate text based on this new base amount. Okay, then let's switch to FO to see how we will trigger it. So the user experience in FO is the same as previous. All the setups are transparent to the end user. They just as usual create a sales order, and when they click the sales text button, it will call text calculation service. And we can see this is the result returned from text calculation service. Okay, that's all for this demo. Thank you. In the text.
Okay. Yeah, let's move back to presentation. You saw a little bit like flexibility, and obviously if you want to know more about tax calculation services, I mentioned we shipped it in October last year. There is a tech talk available, and I put a link here, and you can search obviously in our tech talk repository. So tax calculation service is currently integrated with Dynamics 365 Finance and Supply Chain Management. As you saw, it provides very much enhanced, flexible, and very configurable tax determination and calculation, and supports also multiple tax registration numbers and tax determination calculation on trans orders. Actually, the service eliminated or significantly reduced the need of very costly customizations, right? And it can support right now out of the box complex tax scenarios such as transfer price and limited risk distributor model, which we already mentioned, consignment warehouse, EU VAT on margin, and a few more. The service actually increases the scalability of the tax determination calculation functionality. And what we plan to do in wave one, we are making it even more scalable by providing a possibility to determine and calculate taxes on multiple documents in one call to the service. We also, as I mentioned, we also integrate the service with a general journal and payment journal in wave one. And as a part of Globalization Studio, we will provide an API to the tax calculation service to open it to any first-party or third-party applications beyond Dynamics 365 Finance operations. So let's move to the next topic now and talk about electronic invoicing. As I mentioned, more and more countries introduce electronic invoicing and to collect more taxes and to fight tax evasion. There are different models of electronic invoicing implementation depending on the country. But in general, tax authorities require every seller to generate all invoices in some regulatory required electronic format, usually it's XML or JSON, that should be digitally signed and then submitted to the government for the validation. And government also provides some digital stamp. And only after that, this electronic invoice can be sent by seller to the buyer. So I have another quick demo to show how you can easily configure electronic invoice for Brazil electronic invoicing, which is called NFE. Let's go to this demo and start it.
We simplify the configuration experience providing this page where you can manage the configuration of your electronic invoice. On the left side, we have the electronic invoicing features, and on the right side, you can configure the attributes of your electronic invoice. Let's select the Brazilian electronic invoice, which is also called Brazilian NFE. The Brazilian NFE is provided out of box by Microsoft. If your business requires any customization on the NFE format, go to Configurations and select the invoice layout. Click Edit, and using the Format Designer tool, you can modify or customize the layout of the electronic invoice. You can add new tags, new notes, modify the binding of fields from the invoice model, etc. Notice that this experience is very similar from the Format Designer tool available on electronic report. And if the NFE format is okay for your organization, you just need to make a last mile configuration. Go to Setup tabs, select the feature Setup. And here there are two basic configuration steps to be done. Entering the digital certificate used to sign the electronic invoice, and enter the URL of the web services from the Brazilian Tax Authority if you plan to use a URL different from the default URL provided together the electronic invoicing feature. If everything is okay here, you are ready to start using electronic invoice feature to issue the Brazilian invoice. Here I am in FNO. I have a Brazilian invoice posted and ready to be submitted. I have, let's go to submit electronic documents form. Select here. Let's select 197. Click OK. Click OK. By doing this, I am sending this Brazilian invoice data to electronic invoicing services, and the electronic invoicing service is generating the Brazilian invoicing, sending to Brazilian Tax Authority and get authorization. If you want to see the submission log, let's go to fiscal document header. Here we have here, select buyer's detail. And then we can see the breakdown execution of my generation of invoice. I can see here that my invoice was approved. And if I go back to my Brazilian invoice, I can see that it was approved. That's all. Thank you. We simplify.
Okay, so let's move further. You saw that we significantly extended our electronic invoicing capabilities with electronic invoicing service. The service actually provides much more rich functionality. It's and more flexibility to handle invoicing requirements for multiple countries. It also simplifies its extensibility, not only in the format, but also in the whole submission workflow, what Gilberto actually showed in his demo a little bit. And also right now we have a consistent implementation of electronic invoicing across multiple countries, across all countries. Using this service last year, we shipped electronic invoicing for several new countries like Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Indonesia recently released. And also we provided the integration of with the Italian government's SDI exchange system, and which was not available before. To support new upcoming invoice legislation, we will be shipping new invoice capabilities based on electronic invoicing service for France, which is coming actually later in 2024, but also for Poland and in Saudi Arabia, which is like a government introducing this from 1st of January 2023. Also, similar to tax calculation service in Globalization Studio, we will provide an API to the electronic invoicing service to open it to any first and third-party application beyond Dynamics 365 finance operations. We did a very detailed tech talk last year on this service, and you can watch it and search it in the set of tech talks. The next area what I want to quickly cover, it's tax audit and reporting. One of the key deliverables last year, what we did, in addition to obviously our continuous regulatory update based on the legislation changes, it was multiple tax registration reporting. Now the companies who has established tax registrations in many countries, they can operate under transfer pricing or LRD or limited risk distributor model and produce multiple tax reports from single legal entity. This functionality works together with tax calculation service that determines the right tax registration for transaction using special tax matrices you saw in the demo earlier. And we also did a detailed tech talk, and again, watch it, and there is extensive documentation on this. We also have tax reporting Yammer group where our product managers discuss new features and can answer actually your questions. So I just invite you to join these groups. And a last topic what I want to cover today is electronic reporting and configurable business documents. This functionality, electronic reporting, was shipped when we shipped cloud finance operations, and configurable business documents, something we shipped 2 years ago based on electronic invoicing as well. So we continue enhancing this functionality, right? And electronic reporting is based for many of our technologies, and obviously configurable business document allows users to customize business documents such as orders, order confirmation, invoices, and others in Excel or Word user interface. So we provide a lot of templates ourselves, but also obviously customers and partners can extend and create their own templates, and it significantly reduces customization efforts which are required when you deal with documents in multiple countries. For electronic reporting, we release preview support for print management, enhanced performance. There are all this functionality in release notes, and for configurable business documents also we shipped the support for additional barcodes. We added specific destinations via printer management setting and support for configurable images and headers and footers, and a few more features. There are several new features which are planned for Wave 1. Wave 1 plan is already published. I will not go into the detail right now. So, and also our team is planning to do a tech talk on electronic reporting and configurable business documents in April. So I just welcome you to, whenever notification is done, to join this tech talk if you are interested. I think it's all for presentation perspective, right? And I believe we still have some time for Q&A. April, I suggest maybe you can move to Q&A session right now.
Yeah, sounds great. There is a question, Sergey, in the chat window, if you would like me to read it off. A couple of them, actually. One was, has Microsoft a plan to include a Chilean localization?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, it's a good question. As I mentioned earlier, we are looking at more extensions. So we extended we added localization for 7 new countries in the last like 18 months. We are looking to more extension, right? We are looking at like all regions, LATAM, obviously, where we only have Brazil and Mexico right now covering out of the box, and plus some Asia Pac and even Eastern Europe. So we don't have specific plans. I can't actually say right now if you plan to add and when, right? So, but we are looking at extending, right, to more countries. Not the exact answer, but this is unfortunately how much I can share right now.
Great. All right, the next one is on electronic invoicing. Electronic invoicing in the future will be required to be submitted over distributed ledgers using blockchain technology. Any future roadmap on this front?
It's a good question. Obviously, I think we are looking at a blockchain technology, right? Even on a Microsoft level, and also obviously, I think we understand that it's for finance. It's important future technologies. There are no specific plans right now, right? But I think what I should say, right, that, and this is what is good comparing to, for example, previous version of Dynamics, right? That we consolidated right now electronic invoicing, right? Especially with electronic invoicing service in one place, right? So technologically, right, if you need to move update to the next level, move to the blockchain, right? Electronic invoicing, I think we are quite ready to do, because it's not spread across the system and multiple localization, right? But there are no any specific plans. I don't know. We have also Marek on the call, who our owner of electronic invoicing. Marek, anything
actually, I have answered that question in the meantime in the chat. Yeah, so just on the top what Sergey said, I have to admit that we are constantly monitoring the development around electronic invoicing as such, including, of course, technologies like blockchain, e-billing, procurement, and so on, right? So anything what we will be releasing, what will be planned, will be announced using release plans and other communication channels, right? So that's actually everything what we can say around that topic and the future roadmap to address those requirements.
Yeah. Thank you, Marek. I just want to add one thing. Electronic invoicing, because it's a global trend. It's a global regulatory global trend, right? As I mentioned, it's more or less government trying to do real-time tax reporting, or actually asking businesses to do real-time tax reporting to fight with tax evasion. For us, it's a strategic area. We are significantly improving our technologies there. We supported it before, but we are making it more powerful. But also, when we see the legislation changes coming, right, we are trying to, as soon as government provide a clear guidance how the legislation will look, right, we are trying to release it as soon as possible, right? I gave an example of French electronic invoice, which is actually, it was postponed to the middle of 2024. It requires integration with government service, which actually gather or collect all the invoices, which is called Chorus Pro. We will be we started already working on this, and we will be providing functionality much earlier, so partners and customers, right, they have time to uptake this functionality.
Great. All right, now there's also a question, Sergey, on the tax calculation service.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lengthy one, so I'll give you some time here. The idea and concept with the tax calculation service is great, but in a project where a customer is represented in multiple countries and with different tax registration numbers, And the requirement is to have all countries and tax registration numbers in one legal entity in Dynamics 365, supported with the tax service. We are missing the localizations for all the countries except for the registered one. What are the thoughts and plans on this? For example, all localizations should be available by feature management.
I can start answering, right? So basically to support this, we don't have any plans to enable all localization in like one legal entities, right? One legal entity, right? But what we did with tax calculation service, we enable flexible way to basically determine on transaction level tax ID, right? Multiple tax ID. Also, as I mentioned, when I talk about tax audit and reporting, we released and continue actually a roadmap for several countries already. We release a possibility to do tax reporting, like VAT declaration, EU sales list, or intrastat for multiple countries from one legal entity, right? We continue to extend this, but obviously, if I understand the question correctly, that in some localization still is under country context, right? So for some countries where you need this functionality, it will work out of the box. But for some countries where certain localization features are needed, they still would require customization, right? Basically removing country context for the certain feature, right? So I would say we significantly simplify this task, but enabling like complete localization from multi-country localization from one legal entity is a big task, and but we are doing steps in this direction, right, with our services and with this multi-tax ID reporting.
Great.
If any follow-up question, let me know, right? And obviously we can discuss some specific scenarios, right? If you connect later on this area, but this is our direction.
I think between the chat and verbally, we've answered the questions. Please raise your hand or go ahead and chat or unmute if you are able to unmute if you do have any. I know we have a couple more minutes. And if not, we'll certainly give you a little time for a break before your next session.
Thank you once again, Sergey. Thank you, April. What an announcement. Wow, it's very exciting, some of those announcements you made. Yes, I do believe that's the last of the Q&A. So I know that you've offered to obviously answer any other questions, so we'll keep the chat open, and if anyone can actually post their questions, we'll definitely follow up with you on those questions. We just want to, the community as a whole, so we've got Andre, we've got Sukrit, we've got Alex, all the Microsoft MVPs, Kasun. We just want to say a huge big thank you to the product group, Sergey, April, and everyone for all the amazing effort you're doing with the product. It's very exciting, and we just want to thank you. And we're really excited on implementing these new features.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity, and everyone have a wonderful day and rest of your summit.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Awesome. And I think Sahib, yeah, okay. I can see Sahib's got his hand up. So Sahib, I'm just going to make you a presenter. Hello there, Sahib.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, Sahib. Yes, we can hear you. Yes, we can.
Right. First of all, I must say it's good to see you guys after a while. It's, going into Summit in Seattle, it's always lovely to see you guys there. My question is actually from the April. So it's again the same question which I asked in the chat. Like, where do you see the product going? Like, what I observe, the product is breaking in more and more into small pieces. Do you think Microsoft is like trying to create is more like service-based product, so they can sell it, all these different small add-ins as a separate product?
It's a great question, and let me elaborate a little bit on it. No, and Sergey, you can chime in too. Strategically, we're more focusing now around selling to a particular persona like the CFO. And although, yeah, we do have some add-ins and we do have some other things that you can add on, we're very strategically looking at how do we make sure it's just easy for a finance org to, get the pieces that they need, and without us saturating the sales team in the field with all these different ad hoc processes. So although some may be either technically or through monetization separately added on, we're not focused on trying to bring them all individually to market. We're focused on maybe that finance with a couple of surround spoke plays that would be really critical to that finance org. So I think that's something that although we have separate ones, you'll continue to see from a go-to-market perspective going forward.
And if you see the Microsoft Azure, I'm not very familiar. There is a new module which is related to ledgers and finance. I think it's still not public there. Do you think it will be replacement of Dynamics 365 in the future? Dynamics 365 for finance?
That's a good question. I do not. So we've definitely worked with that team, and we know that they're doing some work with the developers. We will always be looking at what capabilities the broader Microsoft stack has, and how does that fit into our customers and our prospects' needs from a business perspective. But we will absolutely still be focused on delivering finance as a set of business application solutions utilizing Microsoft versus replacing it with a Microsoft tool. So, it's a very specific thing, and we have a full end-to-end ERP capabilities across all the finance processes. So, like anything, if there's something valuable there, we will look to reuse it if it's something we need versus reinvent it, but it's not going to be a replacement.
Thanks for your time and the answers.
Thank you once again, Sergey and April, and everyone from the engineering team, Adam and Maxim and Marek. And Adam, yep. So apologies if I missed anyone. Yeah, and Katerina as well. Thank you all for supporting and for Q&A as well. Awesome. Okay, well, that's a perfect timing. On to our next session, which is none other than Alex Mayer. Very, very prolific MVP who specializes in AX development, security, and now licensing. Alex. Hello, Alex. Oh, yes, we can hear you now, Alex.
Okay, good.